Hello everyone, my name is Jana Stupowski and I'm your data visualization instructor. In this video we're going to talk about building maps in Tableau by using geographic data as part of our data set. Maps can be used pretty much anytime we have some sort of geographic data present in our data set. It could be a country, a city, a county, state, or even a zip code. Some data sets even come with latitude and longitude data, and that is the most granular level of geographic data, and it enables us to put what I would call pins on a map, because we can put the pin on a map in exactly where latitude and longitude meet. Let's look together at our real estate data set. I'm going to show you how to build a couple of basic charts, and then I'm just going to refer to a Tableau source for additional maps that you can build as you see fit. First, we're going to build a basic bubble map chart. We're going to take a look at where the most homes sell in Mobile and Baldwin counties. The way we're going to do it is we're going to look at cities, and we see that all of our geographic fields have a little globe next to the pill. Just for your information, Tableau has ways to recognize a lot of other geographic roles for data, airport codes, area codes when it comes to phone numbers, or metropolitan statistical areas. It even recognizes some regions in Europe, and it can even recognize some congressional districts. But going back to building our map, what we're going to do is we're simply going to double click on a city, and what happened was it suddenly created a dot for every single city that's available in our data set. It also automatically put city onto the detail marks card, and it auto-generated latitude and longitude for our dots on a map. As you can notice, there's one unknown piece of data, and when we click on it, we have an option to either filter the data out or show it at the default position. But before we choose any of these, I suggest that you try to edit the location. And it's telling us that one of our, what we would have under cities, is called unincorporated. That's what we used in the data. There is no such a city as unincorporated. It's basically a labeling for homes that are located outside of cities that don't fall into city limits. So just for simplicity, we're going to filter this data, and we will continue with the demonstration. But right now we have a single dot representing each city in our data set. And to do a little more with our map, let's say we want to look at where most homes sell in what city. So our auto-generated field that we use to look at the counts of homes is this one, and we're going to drag that onto the size. And suddenly, I'm going to try to make it a little bigger, but what happens is we get a legend that basically tells us that as size of a bubble goes up, number of homes sold in that particular city go up. So we're using size here as a pre-attentive attribute to distinguish between different cities and the volume of homes that sell in each of these cities. We can try to bring in another metrics onto the map into our view. Let's say we want to look at what's called a loan to value ratio. It's basically a ratio that tells us how much of a home value is financed by mortgage. And I pre-built this calculation, and it's basically a simple calculation where you divide mortgage amount by the value. And what we'll do is we drag this pill onto color. I'm going to change the coloring a little bit just to make sure that you see better. But we now have a second legend here that tells us that Blue represents a lower mortgage loan to value ratio, and the orange represents a higher end of the loan to value ratio. So that means if our max loan to value ratio is 0.73, that means that 73% of a home value on average is covered by mortgage. So if you look on the map, the size represents where most homes sell, but the darkness of orange represent where homes are more financed by mortgage rather than by cash. And so if you look at Fairhope, the size of the bubble is pretty decent. There's over 6,000 homes that were sold between 2014 and 2018 in Fairhope, but loan to value ratio is slightly over 0.5, so only about half of homes are financed by mortgage. The rest is financed by cash. On the contrary, in Daphne, over 5,700 homes were sold between 2014 and 2018, but well over 65% of the home values are financed by mortgages. So now we're using two pre-attentive attributes. We're using size of the bubbles and their color to communicate number of homes sold and then type of financing for each homes. Another type of map would be a map that's filled by color. So in this situation, what we're going to try to do is do something similar. We're going to look at the data by zip code. So what we'll do is we'll double click on a zip code. And as you can see, latitude and longitude were auto-generated and placed into columns and rows. Zip was placed into the detail. But now looking closer at our map, we now have more dots on our map because each dot represents each individual zip code that's available in our data set. As you can see, we have 3 unknown zip codes in our data set. Before we decide to filter them out, we may want to check them out and edit the locations. We have null, we have 2 different zip codes for which I currently don't know what the correct value could be, but if I did, I could just type the correct value, correct zip code in here and hit OK, and I would be left with only 2 unknown left. In this case, I don't know what the correct values are. For the sake of a demonstration, I'm just going to filter the data out, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit to see our data better. But again, we've got a bunch of dots on the map, each representing a zip code in this case. And let's say we want to look at where, in which zip code do the homes sell at the highest value. So we're going to take the value pill and we're going to drag it into color. And we generate a legend. And we can see that the legend ranges from 1,500 to 2 billion, which basically means that the darker the color, the higher the total value of all homes sold within that particular zip code between the years 2014 and 2018. So it's the zip code 36532 where the value of homes is the highest. This is a simple map. One way to enhance it would be we could also put labels on top of it. But in this situation, because our areas are so small, it's cluttered. But there's an example, for instance, we could use it to show differences between different states, in which case you can fit the label much better on an area of a state if you wanted to do that. There are some additional improvements or edits that you can make to map by utilizing the map menu at the very top of each worksheet. You can change the background map from light to normal, or you can select dark. I'm going to go back to light, but you can edit locations. You can bring back the window where you would like to edit specific locations that are in your geographic fields. And you can also take advantage of map layers. So here you get to select and unselect some items that you want appear or disappear on your map. I checked streets and highways routes. I can check a lot of other items, area code labels or zip code labels, if that's what I wanted to show. Notice that what I'm checking here is covered by my map because my map is the layer that sits on top of these default layers, Tableau generated default layers. Additional items that we can do here is to bring in some layers from census data, such as population, and we can decide the granularity, state, county, zip code, or census tract, and I can decide on the coloring. To X out of here, we just hit X, and we're back to our data pills, our data pane. There are some additional map types that you can build in Tableau, and I'm going to include this link under the video. But in addition to the bubble chart, one important question that we need to ask ourselves is that is the map really needed for our visualization only because we have geographic data available in our data set? Sometimes if we only need to find out who the leading states or counties or cities are in terms of sales, map may be absolutely unnecessary. And the main question to ask is really, do we, with a simple bar chart, still accomplish answering that question? So keep that in mind as you are working with your data set that includes geographic data, and don't push creating the map just to demonstrate your Tableau skills or to create it to confuse the audience. Other map types, and as we seen earlier, proportional symbol maps, adding bubbles and then adding color and size to it helps to add some more metrics to the map. We can also use the fillable map to almost look like a heat map if we're showing perhaps counties and some metrics that reflect the counties. If we have latitude, longitude data, we can build these. We can put a bunch of pins on the map and see how dense some areas are versus others. We can also create heat maps, or if we have latitude, longitude data that can, for instance, show hurricane maps, we can build paths in Tableau as well. Link to this Tableau map resource website is available for you under this video. And from there you can find additional links to lead you to other websites that give you detailed instructions on how to build those specific maps and explain what the best scenarios for each particular maps are. In this video, we have covered a couple of basic map charts that you can build on Tableau. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.